When hope is gone, undo this lock and send me forth on a moonlit walk. Release restraint level 0. Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Hi guys, this is the Void of the Ravenclaw. Welcome back to another fan fiction story. If you like this type of content, smash the like button and subscribe for future updates that I do post on my community tab frequently. Before we begin, I made a short video about this series, some just some information you need to know beforehand to get a better understanding. It's very short, but I also will go over it during the story. Not too really much detail, but I do explain a little bit. Now let's start our story. As we start our story, as you could see a burning and crumbling castle. This specific castle is the home of a family of vampires, the Midoriyas. The Midoriyas are a dimension-hopping vampire family trying to locate a permanent home. They have traveled several different dimensions, but each time, humans eventually figure out what of their existence. Much like human nature, they normally display negative emotions like hatred, fear, despair. They would rather destroy what they don't understand. It's one of the major flaws of the human species. But the Midoriyas never killed humans. Yes, they have fed off them, but never once have they killed any of the humans that they have fed off. Not saying that they haven't killed before. They only do so to protect what's theirs. As you see the family of vampires opening a portal a couple miles away from their burning home. As you can see the mother of the family, Midoriya. She's a very attractive woman with long silverish white hair with glowing red eyes, wearing a black and red dress. Fortunately, her late husband succumbed to blood rage before her youngest was born. Because her husband was a necro-vampire, they're more susceptible to going into blood rages more often compared to to regular pure blood vampires. Because of their cat-like animal instincts is a lot more intense, so they occasionally can lose control over themselves. This can be prevented if the vampire in question learns how to control his instincts. As you can see the eldest of the Midoriyas, Izumi, much like her mother, she shares traits with her mother, with her long silverish white hair, with red eyes, with long pointed ears like an elf. The last member of the family is the youngest child of Inko and Hasashi, Izuku, who's currently in his cat form, sleeping in his sister's arms. He is one of the most unique of Inko's children. He's a necro-vampire. Izuku has a typical traits of a necro-vampire ever since birth. His necro side is his father's side of the family. He has the ears. He has more claw-like nails. More so to other vampires because of his because for being a Neko. As he's sleeping peacefully in his sister's arms. Let go of your brother. I don't want you to get separated. Stood mother. I won't allow anything to happen to my little adorable little cat brother. That's always good to hear. You two has always had a strong bond ever since he was brought into this world. Where are we going, Mother? Where exactly is this portal going to take us? All dimension hopping gets tiring after a while. Know how tedious it has been on you. Hopefully, this dimension will be our new home. And daughter, please keep a close eye on your brother. You know how curious he gets. Won't allow it to happen again, Mother. But it's natural. He is a vampire Neko, and they were always quite curious. And specifically, this one, he's always been a curious boy. That may be so, but the last time he let his curiosity guide his decisions, he got attacked and went berserk. It took us almost until dawn to keep him contained and calm him down, despite him from being so young. Izumi winced at the memory when her mother brought it up. She could only nod in acknowledgement towards her mother as the Midoriyas went through the magical portal that Inko opened up to a different dimension. They exit the portal. They found themselves in this new dimension that seems to be in the Middle Age area. Not much difference compared to their original dimension, and several others were in that set of time frame of humanity's growth. Because how they're dressing, it won't be hard for them to blend in with the humans. They just have to keep their bloodlust in check and don't expose themselves. They can always explain their hair color and eye color as a family trait, and technically, she wouldn't be lying. Unfortunately, Izuku will most likely have to be kept inside. He would stick out too much. People would start asking questions. Little boy with cat ears would start walking around, and she's not entirely sure if there's any cat folks in this dimension. She could be overthinking things. There could be Nekos in this dimension as well, but she first has to investigate, and she'll come across. She has seen different Nekos in different dimensions, but not all dimensions have Nekos. So she has to play the smart just in case. Luckily for Inko and her children, a local vampire family did notice them inside one of the human cities. So they approached them. The whole event was quite peaceful. Surprisingly, Inko never thought she would come across another clan of vampires again so soon. She's been to many dimensions, and she's never came across any vampire except for her family. She was a bit relieved to see this new world has some sort of vampires in it. She could tell they're different compared to herself and her children. Clearly a difference compared to this version of vampires in this dimension on this earth compared to how vampires are on her original dimension. The family of vampires that offer friendship They offer friendship, basically. This family of vampires was extremely peaceful and do not kill humans unless it is necessary, much like the Midoriyas. So the Rosefields brought Inko into the fold on how things are run on Earth when it comes to vampire and their politics. 60 years has passed. The Midoriya family made a home deep into the forests of Japan. This is only a temporary home for the Midoriyas. She wanted to take her children out of the city of men. They're currently waging a war. With one of the nearby kingdoms. And the Christian church took this chance to strike down several vampire clans, declaring war on all vampire kind, and sending out vampire hunters to each nest, or basically to each home of a vampire clans. So, she immediately made preparations to lay low with her family. She's fully aware that humans don't stand a chance against her, but with the humans' lack of physical power, they make up for it in pure numbers. She's seen a whole group of vampire hunters take out a very powerful vampire in her own dimension. Her own species was almost her entire species was almost wiped out. Inko knows when to disappear and lay low from the mortal world. In Japan, they're currently in the age of the samurai still, and her children are doing well. Her daughter dove into her training and studies, while her son hasn't changed much. Physically, he's still quite young and curious. He's currently 6 years old by appearance. The Midoriyas are not turned vampires, but born vampires. Vampire children age very slowly until they hit their 20s. Then they completely stop aging. That's when the vampire immortality finally fully activates. Many of the vampire families are purebloods back in her own dimension, and they were never human churn to begin with. And churning humans into vampires in her own original dimension was one of the laws that would have a death penalty on it. Turned vampires don't age, but purebloods do. Until their immortality fully activates, as they stop aging completely. Pureblood vampires, compared to Inko, are completely different species of vampire, but they're still vampire at the end of the day. But with their home in the vast forests of Japan, she has took some stress off her. She's always worried about her son, worry about her youngest. She hated when she had to keep him inside all the time. Now he can at least go outside and run all he wants into the forest. Of course, there's a boundary. A good portion of the forest is in her magical barrier that prevents Izuku from going too far and keep everyone else out. That doesn't have proper... That prevents Izuku from escaping, basically. Keeps everyone else that doesn't have any proper magical talent to not be able to see the magical barrier around their home. They do get blood deliveries every so often, so they don't starve because they're vampires from a different dimension, They don't have to feed as often as vampires in this reality. As we cut to Izumi walking down the halls, only light source is the torches on the side of the walls of the hallway. As she enters her chamber, the chamber itself is pitch black, with only a candle lit on her desk. Izumi caught movements in the shadows as she smirked as she walks over to her bed and sat down. What is a maiden to do all alone, vulnerable to the creatures of the night? You could see a stalking 6-year-old Izuku in the shadows, with his black cat tail swaying back and forth, as you can see his cat-like eyes, his cat-like red eyes, as he has slits in both of his eyes. He immediately pounced from the other side of the bed towards his sister. Got you. As Izumi turned around to catch her brother. Out of pure shock and surprise, he transformed into his cat form, from being surprised the way he was. You're getting better, little brother. I almost didn't notice you at first. I'll get you next time. Almost got you, sis. That you did, little kitten. So you came to visit your prettiest sister, did you? You know you're my only sister. Semantics. Izuku hissed out of nowhere towards the window. What is it, brother? Humans. That shouldn't be possible. No one knows we're out here outside of a very rare few of other vampires. And we have a magical barrier over our land. Wait. I smell it now. I smell it now. Indeed, humans have broken in through the magical barrier. The magical barrier is still up, so they most likely just made a hole for them to slip through. The barrier most likely repaired itself, but the damage is done. I sense one of them has magical talent, magical aptitude. Most likely had some sort of training if he got through the magical barrier. I believe it's time we meet our guest while Mother is currently traveling. Why don't you go play with your new toys? Izuku looked up to his sister while he's in her arms, in his cat form. It's fine. I'll be nearby if you need me. Izuku's eyes began to glow a crimson red and bolted off out of his sister's arms and went straight out the window. And the moment he leaped out of the window, he took flight and made towards the direction from the incoming humans that are still traveling through the forest. Izuku stalked his prey on top of one of the high tree branches, still in his cat form. Meanwhile, Izumi contacted her brother through their mental link that they share. Do you have a clear view? Yes. I know you want to play, but I need to know who are these humans. I'm going to use one of my unique abilities to see through your eyes. Izumi activated her unique ability. As she sees the humans through her brother's eyes, she immediately recognized these kinds of humans. Vampire hunters from the church. Change of plans. I'll be joining in your little playtime today. Don't engage till I get there, little brother. Am I understood? Understand, sister. No fun. Izuku did what he was told and continued to follow the hunters, even though it's very hard to resist his temptations to snag one of them. He's had many opportunities to do so while he's been following the Christian vampire hunters. Izuku noticed his sister just arrived, landing right beside him on the tree branch, higher up on the trees, so the hunters don't see them. I'll get their main attention while you pick them off one by one. Go hunt to your heart's content, little kitten. This is going to be so much fun. The cat bolted off and disappeared into the shadows. Izumi continued to follow them on the treetops and wait, as they are now starting to make camp for the night. That's what she was waiting for. Izumi sunk into a nearby shadow, then reappeared out of the shadow of the bonfire that's currently going on right now. Once she appeared, all of the Christians immediately noticed her. It's still in the Middle Ages era, so the vampire hunters are wearing light armor mixed with leather armor. For protection and swiftness, as their blades are made of pure silver, she could tell just by looking at it. She doesn't know what type of steel they're using for their light armor, but she can tell the light armor itself is enchanted. She doesn't know what type of enchantments they use, but they're clearly been enchanted by magic. Surprising how the church is very judgmental when it comes to magic. They believe that's the craft of the devil. But that doesn't mean the church doesn't practice magic, only certain type. Mostly light magic. It's a lovely night, isn't it, boys? I hope you gentlemen are enjoying yourself. You're a long way from home, Christians. Alone and so vulnerable. Sorry, give me a second, guys. What should a girl should do? You're putting me in a very dilemma, boys. I could let you go, and you could warn your fellow Christians of our whereabouts. Or I could kill you all. Choices, really? So plexing, really. Suddenly, all of the Christian vampire hunters began to surround Izumi, and all pointed their silver blades at the vampire, as the magic user in the back spoke up. You honestly think the church wouldn't figure out you went into hiding during the cleansing that we haven't officially accomplished? Our main mission is to completely eradicate you demons, but we will win eventually. And your kin will all meet at the end of my blade, one way or another. She-devil. As her sweet expression, smile, disappeared from her face. I don't like your tone, human. Kill the she-spawn. She saw all of them were going for the kill. Only all the humans were surprised as they see the vampire pluck the shadows and formed it into a blade that's in her hand and blocked all of their attacks at the same time, making after images of herself. As the vampire hunters took a few steps backwards, seeing how powerful this bloodsucker is, they weren't expecting to fight a powerful vampire during this hunt. They figured the lead vampire of the family would be difficult, but not the lesser vampires. At least that's what they think. Madness is this demon. You're far more powerful than the ones that we've came across so far. No matter, you won't prevent us from finishing our holy quest, she-devil. Suddenly, one of the hunters was grabbed and dragged into the shadows as you could hear screams and a crunch as a severed head came rolling into view. As the head stopped right in front of the feet of the mage vampire hunter. It looks like my brother got a little too excited and bit his head off. As Izumi couldn't help herself but giggle, making all the humans very unnerved. They couldn't hear what exactly she said, but they have an idea. It's probably something they don't want to hear. They were all distracted. That's when she struck and swiftly pierced one of the humans through the heart with the shadow blade. As the hunter fell to the ground dead, seeing their fellow comrade dying in front of them, they separated into different forces. One force deals with the vampire that's in front of him, and the other group deals with whatever creature is lurking into the shadows. As you can see Izuku in his human normal state, on all fours, as his claws are digging into the trunk of the tree, staring downwards towards the nervous vampire hunters that immediately formed up against each other from back to back in two groups. There's four of the vampire hunters that are trying to hunt down Izuku, while the rest are with his sister. Four vampires go back to back to each other to make sure they don't get attacked from behind, so they can know where the threat is coming from while they're lurking and while they're in the dark forest. The lighting is there's no lighting outside of the bonfire illuminating light. They forgot to bring torches, so they're very finicky right now, jumping at any shadows they see. Izuku detached his claws and proceeds to fall. While falling, he shifts back into his cat form, and right beside the four vampire hunters, while running past them, bone spikes shot out of both sides of Izuku in his cat form. As they shoot towards the vampire hunters, one of them was ran through, killing him instantly, as the other three managed to invade or outright block the spikes with their shields. Before they could do anything to the cat, the cat ran into the shadows as the vampire hunters lose sight. The young vampire Nico jump up in the trees using his cat-like claws to begin to circle around his remaining prey by jumping from branch to branch while his claws are out so he doesn't lose grip and fall. Echo vampires are normally dangerous anyways, but when they get into their hunter state, where they shut off all brain activity outside of enough brain activity for only hunting, that increases their reflexes to more sharper degree than a normal vampire. In shutoffs, and only they have a higher sense of their reflexes and their instincts go overdrive, making them a very terrifying predator as they become more animalistic. they're in their hunting mode. I probably could have phrased that better, but no matter. Let's continue forward. Izuku was too lost in his instincts to realize that he was going into his kill mode. Nico vampires already have Nikos already have an insane instinct to begin with. But top of that was a vampire Neko. You got yourself a very deadly predator. Izuku had to jump and shift back into his normal state from an incoming crossbow arrow from one of the hunters. The front hunter did not wait and was not deceived by how young the vampire looks. He merely charged forward, swinging his silver greatsword downwards, only to see his sword get stopped by the little 6-year-old boy wearing a small cloak, concealing his feline features like his cat ears. Izuku caught the sword with only 2 fingers, as his two claws stopped the blade, only using 2 of his fingers, getting a firm grip onto the metal, and began to lift up the sword, including the hunter that has a firm grip on it, and swung it around a couple times as the hunter was swung off and flew directly into a tree. Well, from a nearby tree. You turn the blade around. He kind of looks ridiculous with the sword because of his small body, because he's technically still 6 years old, holding on to a great sword. But their shock didn't last long as Izuku ran forward with glint in his eye as he began swinging the sword wildly, cutting through several trees as he proceeds to chase down the hunters that he was forced to do a temporary retreat, while the little vampire boy was swinging the greatsword around like it was a toy. They are shocked even more considering he's swinging around a silver sword, that the handle might have a thin layer of leather around it, but the sword is still made of silver, and according to their memories, vampires are vulnerable to silver and holy water. But unknowns to the hunters, because Izuku is a Neko vampire, he has high resistance towards silver and holy water. He's not invulnerable to holy water and silver, he just has a very high tolerance. All the hunters immediately had to go into a roll, as the very same sword that the vampire had prior is now flying through the sky, ready to run right through them. Luckily, no one was injured at the flying weapon, as the silver sword dug into the tree trunk, the tree from behind them. As all of the hunters look around, as they lost sight of the vampire boy, as you see glowing red eyes in the shadows right behind them, ready to strike at the slightest moment. With his superior hearing, Izuku could hear the sounds of weapon clashing with each other. As we cut back to Izumi, while dodging and blocking sword swings from the hunters, trying to kill her. She looked very bored doing it. Meanwhile, back at their home, Inko has finally returned as a portal opened up in the middle of the small castle, revealing Inko. I don't sense my children anywhere. Inko closed her eyes to focus on her sense of smell, as she smelled the scent of blood and the scent of her children. Her daughter wears a certain perfume, and her son always smells like the wilderness. As she reopened her eyes and made her way outside of the manor and head into the forest, the first of her children she found was her eldest daughter fighting vampire hunters with her own shadow blade that she constructed into a sword. It's one of her most impressive abilities that her daughter manifested. Every member of her line has at least two abilities, unique only to them. Izumi was broken out of her battle by seeing her mother right behind the group of vampire hunters, as all the vampire hunters fell to the ground dead, as all of their heads were missing. As Izumi could see the heads rolling on the ground. Inko, on the other hand, was just licking her lips, licking her claw-like nails from killing the humans. It seems like the Christians has finally located us. Where's your brother? Playing with a small group of hunters that split off from the main group. Let's go and retrieve your brother. I believe it's time for us to move on from this place. If the church knows of our location, they will only send more of their little pets. Oh, and you know how much I abhor violence. It's beneath me. Saying violence is unnecessary, as long as you apply it correctly. Back was Izuku. You could see the 6-year-old vampire boy jumping from the tree trunk all around the 3 living vampire hunters from the church, making after images of himself when he kept jumping from tree trunk to tree trunk, spooking them even more. Mother, how did the humans even find us in the first place? We're nowhere near any Christian church. There's not even a Christian church in this entire country. One moment, dear. I could smell a rat as Inko grab hold on the only magic user of the vampire hunter as he gets yanked from his hiding spot behind a tree right into Inko's hands as she wrapped her hand around his throat as she lifted the human up in the middle of the air. What are you doing here, human? And if I don't like what I'm hearing, you're dead. Clearly someone talked. No one other than a vampire would even know we even located here. No matter. The moment Inko made direct eye contact with the vampire hunter, she immediately started going through his memories. The unique ability of hers is very limited, but she could see glimpses of memories that's on the surface on any mortal. To go any deeper into the mind of a human, she would have to use magic to do so, combination with her unique skill. But this human's not very complex, so it's like reading a book to her. After finding what she was looking for, she simply snapped the neck of the human and dropped him to the ground as they continued to walk forward, trying to find their missing member of their family. It only took them a couple of minutes to locate who they were looking for, as she sees her son just standing in the middle of the forest, while there's body parts scattered all around him, covered in blood from head to toe. Izuku turned around. He saw his sister and mother. He immediately ran into his mother's arms. "You're back, Mom." Inko caught her son in her arms and rubbed her cheek against his, affectionately. "You know I hate to leave you for a long period of time, little kitten, but your mother had to deal with some vampire business. Did you have fun, my little kitten?" "Yes, but I broke my new toys." "That you did, my kitten. I'll find you new ones. Now, let's head back. We have some packing to do. We're going on a little family vacation. We'll be leaving this area for quite a while. But fret not. We will return one day." Inko waved her hand as the blood disappeared off of her son using blood magic. As you can see the blood forming into a ball as she threw it against a tree. Izuku shifted back into his cat form and fell asleep in his mother's arms. After having some fun, he's extremely tired and wants to sleep. As the mother vampire simply stared down upon her son with a affectional gaze. "Take it we were betrayed, Mother?" "Indeed, we were. By one of the rivals of the Rosefields. They were the ones that exposed our location to the Christians. Willingly or unwillingly, it doesn't change the fact that they tried to have us killed. I'll deal with them in my own way." A few days later, the vampire family, that is known as the Midoriyas, disappeared from Japan without a trace, only leaving a barrier up around their whole castle to keep their home safe from the average human while they're out of Japan. Anyone that doesn't have any magical talents wouldn't even know of the barrier to begin with. So their home is safe for now. The hunters might come and try to investigate, but they won't find anything. The Midoriyas moved to one location after another, never staying in one spot for very long. As they would live like this for many, many years, until they found themselves in a new world that will be known as America in the near future. As the age of firearms has finally became more prevalent, as the Wild Wild West was formed, the Midoriyas implemented themselves in a large manner, just a couple of miles away from a large city that was just built. The city's been quite busy. They've been building a new railroad connecting this city from a neighboring city, making a trade route between the two cities more acceptable and more convenient. The very old vampire family kept to themselves, for the most part, not to step on any other vampire toes, considering one of the largest outlaw gangs in the area are all vampires running around as outlaws, using as a cover to feed to their heart's content, disguising their actions by causing mayhem and breaking the law by robbing and killing and doing many things that outlaws would do during the age of the cowboy or the Wild Wild West. As you can see, a scary looking manor that looks very intimidating, that's located out of the way. Even if you manage to find the place, You would have to know the area, the terrain, to stumble upon the manor. The way towards the scary-looking manor is surrounded by mountains and forests on all sides. The manor itself can only be approached by a very long bridge connecting the land from to the manor that's located on a cliff. The entire place is infested with very aggressive wolves that has been modified to be so by the very vampire family that's live in the area by means of magic. They're just normal wolves, but far more aggressive towards any intruders. And there are several magical barriers concealing their manner from non-supernaturals and non-magical beings. The barrier compared to the barrier in Japan is slightly more advanced compared to the barrier that's around their castle in Japan. They're vampires, so they will have homes scattered all around the world, and the Midoriyas are a very well traveled vampire family. Inko and Izumi didn't change much, but Izuku did. He no longer looks like a 6-year-old boy. He looks around like he's around 10 years old. He's grown much. He has grown out of his animalistic side, and he still has the same traits like he did before, but they're a lot more focused and ready to be unleashed at his leisure. Izuku is currently in the family library, going through the bookshelf one by one, the ones at least he could reach, to find a specific book he's looking for. He knows the specific book he's looking for is somewhere in his family's library. He just can't find it of yet. There you are, little brother. This is where you've been. Hello, sister. I hope you've had a good rest. That I did. What can I do for you, sister? You wouldn't have come and found me so early. The moon is just rising right now. Night hasn't officially begun yet. Guilty as charged, little brother. I have some business in one of the human cities. Mother doesn't want me to go alone, so she told me to ask for your assistance. Couldn't pass up the chance to have some quality time with my adorable brother. Guessing the fact that I know around my way around that specific town you're going to, it is anything to do with it? Just a tad bit, little brother. I've always been curious, how do you get around that city without people freaking out? Your appearance is not what you would call normal compared to the humans. Say is true, I normally run around the city in my cat form. The humans would never expect a cat to be a vampire. Of course, I would have to not use my wings while in my cat form, but sacrifices must be made. What are you doing in the library anyways? When I found you, you looked very determined to find something. I was looking for one of the beginning tomes for blood magic. I was intrigued by it when Mother was telling me about it. You know, me and Mother like to have debates on different types of magics. When Izuku left the library and went outside the house, he immediately shifted into his cat form and jumped into his sister's arms. Izuku's cat ears would stand out too much. Anytime he went to any of the human cities in the area, he would always go in his cat form. No one would ever expect a random stray cat to be a Neko vampire, because there is no Nekos or no Neko vampires in this dimension, compared to what his mother said. If anything happens while he's in the city with his sister, they would not be expecting the hidden danger to come from a little black cat that looks completely harmless. By the time they figured that out, it would already be too late. Izuku is very protective over his sister and mother. The whole Midoriya family is like that. It's not just Izuku. It's just how they kept themselves alive, survive by doing so, making sure they have close bonds, a tight-knit family, looking out for each other. That's what word I was looking for. That's how they managed to survive this long. What exactly do you need to go to the human city for, sister? There is a shop that's only open during the night in this human city, and I also need to talk to the local werewolves that are known to spend their time at the saloon in this town. Wrong there. I noticed those filthy mutts when I occasionally enter the human city in my cat form during the day. Of course, I will never go in the city with my wings out. Normal cats don't have bat wings. That would clearly be suspicious and cause too much attention to myself. I don't know if the werewolves caught on to my scent or not, or they might just overlook it and just thought I was just an average cat. Maybe a familiar. I still don't know why you would even want to meet these filthy creatures to begin with. Possibly can you gain by associating with those filthy creatures. Like good werewolf's a dead werewolf. When it comes to all, oh, sorry, give me a minute, guys. Actually, cut them off in mid-sentence. Just be nice, little brother, if you have any interactions with any of the werewolves. Try not to antagonize any of the wolves while we're in the human city. Izuku chose not to answer back, just simply rolled up in the ball in his sister's arms and basically slept, much like a normal cat would when they got comfortable enough. When they finally arrived at the city, Izumi was quite impressed, considering when they first established their home, there weren't any city here. There was nothing but dirt, nothing resembling a civilization, just a vast wilderness of the Wild Wild West. She saw many shops, like a barber shop, a general store, a gun store, the saloon, the gun shop where you purchase all your various firearms, and other shops that would pique the interest from any of the humans. Most shops are closed currently, considering how late it is during the night. There's only a few shops that are open during the night, like the saloon, the local inn, and a few other shops that deals with the supernatural world that the normal humans can't see or go into. Izumi could see the street is still populated even during the nighttime. Their first stop was one of the night shops as Izumi walked into the shop while carrying her little brother in her arms, still in his cat form. She immediately noticed the only one in the shop is a very young witch with long black hair wearing civilian clothes so she could blend in with the town more. But you could tell she's a witch by the jewelry she's wearing. Ah, my very first customer of the night. Welcome to my shop. If you need any assistance, just holler. Most appreciated. We're here, brother. Wiki wiki. The witch watched the little black cat morph into a vampire boy. A 10-year-old boy with long black cat tails. Well, with a long black... Try this again. A 10-year-old boy with a long black cat tail with cat ears on top of his head, with two sharp fangs protruding from his mouth. She could tell by his teeth. His teeth are more cat-like than human. She could clearly tell it's a vampire, but she's never seen any type of vampire like that. Especially the slit, glowing red eyes. Clearly hasn't seen a vampire like him before. She is quite curious, but she doesn't want to be rude, so she let them be to have a look around the shop. The shop had all sorts of things, materials, and spell books, amulets, charms, ingredients for potions, and a few other knickknacks, magic base, that's scattered all about the shop. Izuku was quite curious, so he looked around while his sister got what she needed. It didn't take for his sister to get what she wanted, what she needed, and pay for it. As they began to make their leave, Izuku shifted back into his cat form and ran up and hopped into his sister's arms as she caught him. She basically caught him in her arms. As they continued their way to a couple of other shops, they finally made it to their last stop tonight, a saloon that's filled with humans and a small number of werewolves that's mixed in with the humans, because werewolves have a human form as long as you're not an alpha. When you have an alpha, you have you get a tail, well, a wolf tail, and you get wolf ears, so you can't really venture out too much. Unless you wear a hat, then you'd be fine, but beyond that, anyway, that's not really important. As werewolves has a human form, their base form or whatever, they could blend in with the humans. Like I said, as long as you're not an alpha, that's how you could tell the difference between an alpha and a regular werewolf. They would have dog ears. Blend in with the humans as long as they're not supernatural aware, like many of the Indian tribes around the area. Izumi sees the person she wanted to talk to. The wolf she met, she was supposed to meet tonight, by the description that she got from the letters that they begin to exchange between each other. She knows what she looks like. But the other two werewolves, she does not know. The description she got, the wolf, the person she needs to talk to, has long silver hair with purple eyes. Izumi walked over and sat at the table right across from her. As the two other werewolves get tense, seeing a vampire sit across from their sister, they're extremely on edge because they couldn't even sense her. Must be Izumi. When I got a letter from a well-known vampire family, everyone was on a bit on edge. And according to the intel, Your family is legit. Your family is quite respected. Even for a vampire family, that's rare. At least with our interaction sending letters back and forth, I could at least trust you to a point. To my right is my younger sister, Alice. Alice simply tilt her hat towards Izumi in greeting. To my left is my younger brother, Victor. He kept his eyes on the random black cat that's currently laying in the vampire's lap. Sorry, sis, I can't keep quiet no longer. What the hell's that? This adorable thing? It's a cat. Can you see? When I see a normal cat, I despise cats, and that's no cat. It smells wrong. Enough, you slughead, as she slapped the back of her brother's head, as Victor starts to rub the back of his head. That he just got hit by his sister. We're not here to discuss upon the vampire's pet. Technically, he's no pet. He's my little brother. Got all the three werewolves' attention. They don't quite understand how a cat can be her brother. Can't go much in detail. After all, we don't really know each other that well. But my little brother, he's a very unique for our species. His appearance would cause too much of attention, so that's why he's currently in his adorable cat form, sleeping peacefully. Izuku finally looked up at what's been going on. He sees the three werewolves, two female ones, that they're looking at him with curiosity. And there's a male werewolf staring at him suspiciously, as he could definitely feel hostile intent towards him. So naturally he did the most so he only did the most responsible response he could give and glare at him and begin to hiss. Enough, be nice. Izuku just went into a ball again and tried to go back to sleep on his sister's lap. Izuku could hear the werewolf give him a nasty comment, calling him a maging cat. Izuku looked up at the werewolf and pointed his tail at the mutt as a bone needle shot out, grazing the side of Victor's cheek as blood begins to drip, as the bone needle hit the bullseye that's right behind Victor. Sorry about that. My little brother hasn't had any interactions with your kind before, and he doesn't seem to like your brother very much. Considering what type of vampire he is, it's only natural he's hostile towards your kin. The whole cats and dogs things. Quite alright. Victor doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. That's why he gets in trouble so much. I really don't see why you're hanged up on this, brother. So what? A vampire can change into a cat. We've seen them change into animals before, mostly bats. Yes, he's clearly unique, but it's not that big of a deal. And unlike you, I like cats. Get back on topic. I would like to leave this place as soon as possible. Alice and Victor nod at Kate and took a step backwards while Victor takes care of his cheek that's bleeding as he wipes the blood with a handkerchief as his wound slowly heals up. Well, basically heals up because of their regeneration. Werewolves are very durable. As he's now very wary of the black cat that seems to able to shoot out bone pointed objects from its tail. What did your alpha finally decide? You got the go-ahead from the alpha. We will temporarily join forces with you Nightkin and take care of the group of rogue werewolves that have been causing trouble in this region. I'm surprised you haven't dealt with them already. They've been causing your family quite a bit of trouble. Attacking your carriages, interrupting your supply chains from your local merchants. They don't want to cause trouble to any of the nearby packs. She doesn't want to act until we got the full authority to do so, to engage these wild wolfkin. You seem to be your wolfkin tend to be very territorial. We're not wolfkin for nothing. I look forward to working with you, Izumi. Likewise, Kate. As both werewolf and vampire shake hands, as that's where we're gonna stop it. Hope you guys have a good night and day, judging my time zones, and I'll catch you in the next video.